Hmm. Good evening, everyone. Day four, half of the way towards the journey as we committed. I still can't believe that I'm able to complete and reach to the day four. So, yes, everyone, hello, good evening. So, half of the way, we have reached to our committed week series of a day in a software engineer's life. As promised, means every single day I am trying to give you some aspects that what a day in a software engineer's life at Red Hat looks like. Day one, we talked about open source and community contribution. Day two, we started talking about the communities, that what projects and the community that Red Hat works on. Day three, we gave you insights about the enterprise side of Red Hat. And today, what I have for you is again an open source technology that I'm a big fan of, and I believe it is being used widely across the industry. And when I say that the product is evolving and somebody I need to help to guide of you the way we have started, like talking about the open source, talking about the community contribution, talking about the big names, I thought to bring the tech giant itself. He's one of my friend. I met him on LinkedIn, and to be open, before I bring him on the stage, for the first time when I saw his profile, I immediately actually captured his LinkedIn profile address and I kept it on my like secret detail tab that hey, someday I'll do the collaboration. And when I was actually going through the creation of this entire day series, I could not think a better name to talk about when it comes to Istio, because he's working on the Istio project. He's a senior software engineer at Red Hat. And I don't want to do much talk on that. So I'll give you Mr. Shamsher to you. Hello, Shamsher. Cheers and thank you for being here, buddy.
Hey, hello guys.
Hello.
First of
So I
all,
believe so over to you. I don't want to like take your time. I know that you have a lot of things to go on. I'll
yeah,
stay backstage today and over to you, buddy.
yeah, I'll hijack your session. Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me, and I want to thank Gaurav for bringing this session to the community. And I think because of this session, a lot of students got opportunity to learn and get the internship at Red Hat and in other companies also. I also want to show my gratitude to each one of you who is attending this session, and I'm sure that you will learn something out of this session, which will be helpful for your future opportunities. So, who am I? I'm a software senior software engineer at Red Hat. I took this picture when I at the first day of my joining in the Red Hat, and I took this because I wanted to show it to my friends that yeah, I really joined Red Hat after a long struggle. Uh, I have more than 9 years of experience in software development and application development, but I still feel like I'm a fresher because there are a lot and lot of things to learn every single day, and I'm expanding my skill sets and knowledge by acquiring a different skills that is useful in my day-to-day job. And I like greeneries. More importantly, the greeneries on my GitHub profile because that gives me more pleasure and that gives me more excitement as compared to the other greeneries in the world. So I did my first collaboration back in I think 2015, March 2015. It was a small contribution, just adding a link to the open source list of projects related to ES6. Yes, I was a JavaScript developer back then, but I moved my focus from front end to back end and then building the infrastructure and applications related to that. Today, I have more than 15 open source projects and 300 contribution in the Istio project. I'm also a part of user experience working group in the Istio Service Mesh project, along with some of the folks from Google, IBM, and other companies. So basically, these working groups are nothing but a small group of people who maintain the open source projects, and they are responsible for a particular module. Now, this kind of working groups are also available in different kinds of open source projects. You can see it on other like Docker and Kubernetes also. So they continuously focus on improving the particular area of the application. And I got this opportunity to become a release manager for Istio 1.9, which is going to be released on Feb 9, hopefully, if everything works well. Otherwise, I'll have to stay late night and work really hard to make sure that everything goes well. So basically, a release manager's job is to make sure that the next version of any software goes smoothly to the customers and to the open source world. If there is any issues, any problems in the software or open source applications, then the release managers need to take care of that before releasing to the open source world. I joined Red Hat in November 2019, and it took me around 2 hours to write this small script, which I posted on LinkedIn, because I just wanted to thank my mentors and friends who helped me to reach to the Red Hat. But ultimately, why Red Hat? Why I wanted to join Red Hat and why I was excited about the Red Hat. This is because of the open source, because of the open source world which Red Hat provides. Red Hat has been working for more than, I think, 2 decades, almost 28 years, to provide open source software to the world. And I'm really passionate about open source software ever since I understood why it is important. So let me ask you a question. Do you know who invented this concept called open source? You can answer in a chat box or in the comment box, basically, and it will take you around 10 seconds. If you answer it properly, you will get a goodie from Gaurav, obviously.
One lucky winner to get the goodies if you answer it correctly, and towards the end, we'll reveal that.
Okay, so again, who invented the open source software? That's what this man is asking again. Who invented the open source software? So I want to mention that yes, it is a Richard Stallman who invented the open source software movement back in I think 1983, and then he started a free software foundation in 1984 to make this open source softwares available to the rest of the world. So what is actually open source software and what is closed source? So basically, open source software is nothing but which is freely available to use by anyone. You can download it, modify it, and use it according to your needs in your company, or in if you want to sell it to anybody else, you just have to include the MIT license inside that. As compared to that, closed source software is nothing but an application software which is proprietary to the company. For example, you can take an example of Google Map. So Google will never open source its map to the world, because if they will do it, some other companies will start forking it, and then they will create their own software out of it, and that will become more competition to it. uh, Similar to that, Netflix will never reveal their source code, because that's the whole purpose of their business, how they are running their businesses. So that's what closed software means. Okay, then why Red Hat and why open source relates to Red Hat? Because I think Red Hat is the largest open source company in the world. There are other open source company. There are companies who are involving more and more into open source, because they realize that open source software will bring a lot of profit to their companies, because the open source software allows you to contribute, allows you to gather more contribution from different companies and different people who are not their employees. So they don't have to pay any money to them, they just need a contribution, and that will make their software better as compared to the employees who where they pay a lot of money to them and then they work on it. So my next question is, who uses Reddit in India? I just wanted to focus on the Indian market right now, because there are more than 1,000 companies which use Red Hat every day in their enterprise applications and then open source applications and everywhere. But I just wanted to mention India, because I want you guys to know that Red Hat has been used across India in most of the companies. So any guesses? You can obviously comment in chat. You have 10 seconds. So I'm taking a break. Who doesn't?
I guess Nived
Let me
just
tell you.
put it out a perfect question for us. Who doesn't?
Okay, so let me tell you. Almost all the government companies here in India use Red Hat softwares, Red Hat applications, Red Hat servers. One of them is a Aadhaar card that we have been using from almost 2009. I don't know where they started implementing Aadhaar completely on the Red Hat, but Red Hat has been using it for a long time. Aadhaar card is using it for a long time. There are other companies like IRCTC. If you have been booking, there's a background noise. I don't know if you guys are hearing it. But yeah, most of the government companies in India use Red Hat, like GST, SBI Life, LIC. Even when you are an employee of any company, use EPF, which is also a part of a Red Hat. That means they use a Red Hat software every day. There is a recent news which popped up in my email yesterday that Bajaj Allianz is also using Red Hat to handle a lot of load. Because of the pandemic, a lot of people believed in taking insurance and health insurance and term insurance and everything. So they started asking Red Hat that how can they scale their servers to handle all of to handle a lot of load on their servers. So most of their backend has been migrated to a Red Hat servers. So yeah, there are a lot of other companies also in India which uses this. So I'll share that news in the YouTube comment section so that you can go ahead and read about it. So obviously, how I got into Red Hat, it's a great journey, and I think this will help you prepare yourself if you are interested to join Red Hat in future. So I think in June 2019, I got a message from my manager, and he was looking for some Golang developer for a Bangalore location. And obviously, I was not ready to move to Bangalore because I'm settled in Pune, so I don't wanted to move and do everything from scratch again in the Bangalore location. So I asked him if he's ready to hire in Pune, and because yeah, obviously Pune have a largest office in India for Red Hat. All the customer support, all the technical stars, all the open source contributions all happen mostly from the Pune office. So I asked him if he can allow me to work from Pune, and he said yes. I'm ready to hire in Pune also. So uh, I sent him my resume, and then he started seeing scheduling my interviews. After my first round, I got a problem statement saying that I have to develop a web crawler which will help crawling the different links from the website. And they told me that I have to do it in a 2 days, and it should be a production ready application. And I have never built production applications so fast within 2 days, but I thought let's do it now. If I'll be able to implement it properly, then surely I'll get a chance to work with Red Hat, which I have been trying to do that from 2017. I applied to a lot of applications, but I didn't get chance. But this time, I got a message on LinkedIn, so yeah, I'll try my best to do whatever I can do to get the job in Red Hat. So after I think 1.5 month or 2 months, it took me to clear my all the interviews, and it was around 4 to 6 rounds which I have gone through to convince everybody that yeah, I'm a suitable candidate for Red Hat. So what I work on after joining, I think in November, I joined Red Hat, and then I got a chance to work on one of the project called Istio Service Mesh. So before jumping in directly to understand what Istio Service Mesh is, let me describe what microservices is. So I think you all of you might have heard about this term called microservices. It's a small part of your application that will help you to achieve a specific task. For example, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might have seen that there is a video panel, there is a like button, there is a share button, there is a comment section, and there on the right hand side you will see a lot of recommendations, the video recommendations related to this topic or any other topic that might be interested by you, because the recommendation engine builds this automatically and push it to your feeds. So all these can be considered as a small set of a microservices which can be built in a different languages, maybe in Python, maybe in Java, maybe in Golang, maybe in a .NET or any other thing. So the benefit of this microservices architecture is that you can choose whichever language you are comfortable with and build your application in that, and you just have to put that inside a Docker container. So and it will talk to each other to deliver the task. For example, You are seeing this YouTube panel and everything at a one. This is on the front end side, but in the back end side it has been calling a lot of services to get the video feeds, to get the comments, to get how many number of likes this video got, or how many views this video has got, and how many recommendations you are seeing on the right hand side of this panel. But there are a lot of false assumptions that people believe when building these kind of a microservices. And one of them is they always assume that network is reliable, and network is never going to be down. It will always be available no matter what situation it arrives. Maybe it will be because of power cut, broadband connection lost, transformer blast, anything. It happens a lot of time in my area, so I know how it feels, because whenever I'm talking to anybody in my team and suddenly it got disconnected, I feel really bad. That's why I've set up power generators and power backup for my UPS for my home, so that I'll be able to do a chat and communication properly. The other assumptions that people will also believe, that the latency is zero. That means you will always instantly get all the YouTube data instantly on your browser, on your mobile devices. But most of the times you will see that it is very slow. It is sometimes buffering a lot, taking a lot of time, maybe because of bandwidth issue. And you might also have a good internet connection. Some people assume that they have 1 gbps speed, so they will instantly get all the videos on their mobile devices or on the TV. But at some areas, there are internet providers, there are broadband providers who provide very less mbps speed, like 10 mbps, 50 mbps, 100 mbps, and the more speed you want, you have to pay a lot of money. Okay, so people believe that the bandwidth is infinite and there will always be a very fast internet connection. The other false assumption, which is that you will always have a security. Nobody will be able to hack you, nobody will be able to crack your password. But these are the assumptions which will not create a proper microservices for your application. So how to deal with this kind of complexities, how to build a system that will provide more reliable and more faster application to your devices, to your browser, to your smart TVs and everywhere. So there are different methods and techniques used in order to make application which is more reliable and faster. One of them I can say is that there are a lot of concepts, but yeah, I wanted to pick only a few of them so that you will be able to get quickly what I want to say. So one of them is retries. Retries is basically whenever you log into something, or maybe you can take an example of filling up a university form. You might have seen that it fails a lot of time. Whenever you click on the submit button, it goes down, or it doesn't submit the form. Okay. Sometimes the page refresh, you need to do a refresh, page refresh, and then your data will be lost. And there are a lot of issues which comes on the university websites, because I know that they've not been scaling their website, they've not been handling a lot of load on their server. The other facility which also provides by cloud infrastructure for deploying their application is a timeout. So basically, if you are trying to send a request to the server so many times, it has to be timeout sometime. Otherwise, the server will assume that you are receiving the data and you are trying to send a request, so many requests to the server, and maybe server will crash, because while doing an online exam or submitting your university forms, a lot of people try to do that at the same time, and it happens that the server was always down. There is also a concept called as rate limiting, which basically help you limit number of requests per second. So if you are buying any smartphone on Amazon and you are trying to purchase particular phone which will be launched at 2 p.m., you will see that within a 10-second it got sold out. And you might thinking, What the heck is happening on?" So the problem is, if so many people will try to buy something within a specific period of time, there might be a chances that your server will get down because of millions of requests. So they prepare a concept called rate limiting, where they allow only 100 requests per second, or 1,000 requests per second, or million requests per second, depending on what kind of a server they have, what kind of a backup they provide to their customers. So this is one of the important concepts which have been used. There are other concepts also, but yeah, I'll leave it to you. You can go and search on it and read about it. uh, I don't want to take much of your time. So what will happen when you develop a microservices? All you have to do is on every, so the boxes that you're seeing here, all you have to do is you have to implement a different kind of functionality to each of these microservices. The red boxes you are seeing, these are kind of building and handling your microservices properly, like tracing. If my request fails sometime, how do I know that which service called to other service and that got failed? There are other concepts called routing. How my service A will talk to service B, how my service B will talk to service F, and how my service F will talk to service D. There is also a concept called service discovery. For example, if you are building a thousands of microservices, you can take an example of Uber or obviously in YouTube. They have a lot of microservices and they need to talk to each other. But whenever, and there are a lot of developers who are building these kind of applications. So whenever some developer implement a different service to provide one functionality, the system should be able to identify that this is the new service which got added to the microservices mesh, so that it will be discoverable by other microservices, and they should be able to talk to that particular microservice to fetch some kind of information. There's also a different configurations that needs to be implemented in all the microservices. So as you can see, these same functionalities are duplicated everywhere, and the problem is incompatible across language and frameworks, because all the microservices, obviously you can develop microservices in Python, Golang, or Java, or any language, so it is not language independent. If you are building it in a one language, it's good, you can replicate it on other microservices. But if you choose to build your microservices with a different kind of a programming languages, then all the languages don't have particular frameworks to implement like routing or service discovery and these kind of problems. Then obviously if something changed in one microservices, then you have to change all other microservices accordingly. For example, if you set a timeout of 30 seconds, and if you decided that there are a lot of requests which is coming and you have to reduce that timeout to a 10-second, then you have to do that in a 10 or 100 or 1000 microservices which was implemented in different languages. Obviously then upgrade is also very difficult, because in that case some are implemented in another language and you don't know how to upgrade that particular microservices which was built in Python or Java. So what is the better way? What is the better way which will abstract all these configuration, service discovery, circuit breaking, routing, and everything, which will help you to build a resilient and powerful microservices? The answer is service mesh. Now you might have heard about, or you have already read this in your engineering or in your BSc or MSc. It's called different kinds of topologies, like bus topology, ring topology, hybrid topology, and there was one topology which was implemented in a network topology. It's called a mesh topology. So this concept is derived from that kind of a topologies, which is called a service mesh. So basically a service mesh is nothing but a network of microservices that communicate with each other, and they transfer data from one microservices to other microservices. And there are different implementation of this service meshes out in the market, which are, most of them are, I think all of them are open source. The first one is a Istio service mesh. There is a Linkerd, there is a Console, there is Aspen Mesh, Kuma, and other service meshes which have been implemented. But I'll talk about Istio because I have been working on Istio from almost almost a year, more than a year. So what Istio provides, what facilities it gives to the developers to build microservices. So you can see that it provides a service discovery, load balancing, failure recovery, access control, canary rollouts. You can read everything in detail on Wikipedia. I don't want to again give you more example. I've already taken example of rate limiting, how you can prevent your server to rate limit a lot of requests which is coming from client servers. There is a concept called canary rollout, which basically means that whenever you're building a new feature in your application or in your software on your website, before making it live to the customers, or before making it live to the lot of people, you roll out a smaller version of the software which is called as category rollout. and then that will be tested by a few of the regions in the country, maybe in the India or maybe in the US or maybe in other countries. And when the load is proper, when everything works properly, then you roll out the actual to the main website, and then this can be rollout can be rolled back, so that it does not give a lot of load on your actual website, and you will be able to make sure that your website works properly. Okay, so how Istio make it simple? You have seen that building microservices is not that efficient or not easy. It's really hard, but there are a lot of service meshes which have been implemented that's making the life of software developers easier. But how does Istio make it simple? So you might have seen this kind of a bikes in 90s or 80s. After 2000, it went somewhere, I don't know where, but this is called a sidecar. So what it does, it basically adds a functionality to your bike so that you can carry more passenger, you can even carry a luggage in the sidecar. So this is called as this the corner part is called as sidecar. This one is called as a sidecar, even though it's not a car, it's a bike. But yeah, as they name it, you can say that it's a sidecar, and it carries more passengers. It gives adds more functionality to the actual bike. Similarly, Istio uses the concept of this sidecar, which is called a sidecar pattern. So that this blue box you're seeing here is basically a proxy which adds functionality to the actual service. So if you know what is pod in Kubernetes, it's basically a box which will allow you to put more containers into it, and you can put as many containers as you want. But it's always recommended that you use 2 or 3 containers. So this service A is your actual application. The Istio proxy is nothing but a sidecar container, which adds service discovery, rate limiting, and other functionality to your microservices. Okay. And as you can see, this can be replicated to multiple microservices. It automatically adds a sidecar proxy to your main container, and then it adds different functionalities to that particular microservices. The advantage of this kind of functionality and this kind of feature is that you don't have to modify anything in your actual service. Everything will be taken care by Istio proxy. All the facilities that we have seen, the problems that microservices have, can be solved by adding this sidecar proxy to the actual container, and then it will work and add more functionality to your actual application. This is the high level overview of a Istio. So Istio handles this kind of functionality by having two parts. The first is a Istio control plan, and other is a Istio data plan. So data plan is where your actual application resides, where your application, whichever you've built in Java or Python or Go, which can be placed in a data plan. And the control plan is nothing but controlling the all the configuration and data management of the data plan. So it's controlling all the pods and containers and Istio proxies in the data plan, sending all the data to them, how to communicate, how to route, how to apply more security to the application. So it can be separated. We can say that it is separated from the data plan, and it provides more functionality to your actual application. There are other ecosystem that provided with the Istio. If you already know about Grafana or Prometheus, these are time series database, and it provides a dashboard which allows you to visualize your application, how it is interacting with each other. If some of my pod or services are failed, how can I track that which service called it and it got failed? So all these kind of features can be tracked by using these add-ons. Kiali is also a dashboard which is provided by Istio, but it's a separate project. But it gives you ability to analyze your application, see how these different components are communicating with each other, and if it is failed, you can also track by looking at the dashboard. So how can you contribute to this? Obviously, a lot of you
Okay,
might be interested.
Shamsher, sir, here I am back. I guess you have hijacked and you have
Yeah.
observed Cheers with Gaurav like anything. Thank you for that. Means like cheers to you. I need some rest for sure, man. Before you take on my last question, I was
Yep.
in thought that I would ask you at least one or two questions, but you haven't like, let me go and ask one or two questions for that. I believe this is the most interesting part of being a senior software engineer, because you have a lot of things and ample amount of knowledge to share with everyone. And I believe I was looking at the chat, and people are really, really enjoying the way you have uh, showcased what is the service mesh and why this microservices architecture is so much important, and moreover what is Istio and their add-ons. I was about to ask you the last part, that is there any way to contribute to that project? And I believe you have already taken that up.
So yeah, I've made a few points that will help anyone, any
Okay.
beginner or experienced person to contribute to any open source project, not just in Istio. So
Mhm.
I've compiled. It is based on my experience, what I've experienced during last 9 years. Even though I haven't contributing a lot from 9 years, but yeah, it's around 4 to 5 years which I've been contributing to the open source project.
Okay.
So these are the lists that I've made. So if you're interested to contribute to any open source project, just make sure that you are good at one of the programming language, either Python, Java, .NET, Golang, any programming language that you think is best for you and that you think you are good in. You are good in it. If you're not good, you can go to different websites and learn about it. And then once you feel comfortable, you can search on the GitHub which project is available according to your interest. So I'll take an example of Python because Python is the most popular programming language nowadays because of the machine learning and data science. So what you can do is you can just go to GitHub trending, and then search over there with the Python, and it will give you a most rated or most ratings of the projects which is most popular on the GitHub. And then you can pick any of the project which you think might be interesting to you. And then what you can do is follow the instruction to set up on your local machine, because that's where you're going to code. You're not going to code on the browser, you have to do it on your IDE. So just go through the readme file that they have given you, all the setup, whatever is provided in the instruction set. Once the setup is ready, you think that yeah, this application is running properly as per the instruction, then what you can do is you can start reading the documentation. That is the first place you should start contributing to open source. And what I have started, like I showed you, I contributed my first open source in March 2015, and that was just an updating and documentation, because that will give you more confidence and excitement that yeah, my first PR got merged and now I want to contribute more. Once you start reading the documentation, then you will realize that, or you will find out that there is some flaws or there is some problem in the documentation that you are not able to do on your local machine. Then what you can do is you can go to GitHub issues and create the issue related to what you are facing. You don't have to be expert in writing what you are facing. What you can do is you can just put the description or whatever issue you found in that application and put it over there in the issue. Mark it that you need help for this particular issue, and there are a lot of welcoming people in the community who will go and answer your questions. You can reproduce that. You can even mention that how what steps you have taken and how you can reproduce that on other machines similar to that. And then what you can do is, if you think that you can fix that issue, or if you are able to understand the code, you can try fixing that particular issue. I know you will face a lot of problem. That's what I faced when I joined Istio, because I had no idea about Istio, what Istio is and what service meshes is. I learned everything after joining Red Hat. But I was able to crack the interview because yeah, I was reading a lot about Docker and Kubernetes and other technologies which is more popular nowadays. So I know how to answer it properly. But yeah, obviously I have a mindset to learn any language quickly within 2 weeks. It takes a lot of hard work, but yeah, you can do it. You can learn any programming language within 2 weeks, and you can be able to say that yes, I'm confident that I'll be able to do something in that programming language. So if you feel that you're comfortable fixing that issue, raise a pull request. I'm sure that you will get a lot of code comments, lot of review that this cannot be done like this, you have to do it in a different way. You will get a lot of feedbacks from the community members. That's how you improve your code. Because when we used to be in a college, honestly I have never coded. And that's the bad point, that's a bad point from my side, because it took me a lot of time to get hands on the coding part. I had to spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 16 hours, sometimes 16 hours to clear my interviews. I prepared a lot before interview. So if you are in a college, I will tell you that you focus more on the coding part, not just the theory part. The marks is good, but you need only 60% to get into the big companies. Most important thing is you should be good in coding. You should be able to know what you're writing, and you should be able to at least build small applications. If you're able to do that, it will be really easy for you to crack the interview. It will be really easy for you to pick up the things when you join the company, and it will create your chances to getting job in other companies. Whatever you do, just put it on a GitHub to show the world that you are comfortable in this programming language. Okay, so now back to the point. Once you fix the issue, you will get a lot of feedback from the community that this code is not proper, this can be done in a different way. You can add one more condition over here. You need to add a test cases for this, because once you add a test case, you will get to know that this particular feature or this particular fix needs a lot of refactoring. Refactoring is nothing but changing your code once you implemented it, because once you start implementing any of the code, it will not be covering all the cases. Like empty validation, like less than 0 cannot be accepted, greater than 10 cannot be accepted for particular conditions. Okay, so these kind of things you will cover in the test cases, or write a test cases as much as possible for the particular fix. Even if you're not able to fix a particular feature or issue, what you can do is go to GitHub and see the code that they've implemented, and add a test cases for that particular feature. There might be a chances that there will be a lot of open source projects which don't have a good test coverage. Test coverage is nothing but how many conditions have been tested in a code particular. So for example, if particular code has a switch case, if it has a 10 if conditions, some of them might have a test case, some of them don't have. So what you can do, you can see the previous test cases and implement the test cases according to that. And then once you add test cases, you'll be able to understand that particular code properly, and you will feel more confident that you can pick up more tasks. But consider this, that don't spend more than 2 to 3 days on a particular feature or particular fix, because if you're not able to solve that in a 2 or 3 days, just skip it, move it to the other issue, because I know it will be very difficult for you, or you are not reached to that stage where you'll be able to fix this kind of issues. I use this philosophy in Istio also. If I'm not able to fix any issues in 2 days, I just ask for help. This I don't know how to fix it, or is there any better way you can suggest to me so that I'll be able to fix this issue. If nobody answers, or if it is out of my mind, then I'll completely skip it and pick other issues, because it doesn't make sense to hit your head on a wall if you're not able to fix any particular issue. So just skip it and pick up any other thing, but always start with the small. That's how you'll be able to build your confidence. That's how you'll be able to gain more knowledge, and that's how you'll be able to increase your coding skills. And obviously, if
Absolutely.
you have any issues, you can talk to Gaurav or ping me on LinkedIn or anywhere you want.
I believe Shamsher would be the right person after saying this rather than connecting with me. You know that he loves greenery. I am the red guy. So on that side, I believe that is very useful, valuable points. I always believe that when it comes to open source, contribution always starts when you have just realized that yes, this is something, an idea bumped into my head. I can
Right,
do something. That's all. And once you have that idea, you just go seek for the help, do collaboration, and people are there to help. You just
right,
need to be patient. That what you also said, right? So that's
exactly.
wonderful. Some share means, if I have to summarize, means you just took the cheers session quite seriously. I can understand that you are a very loyal viewer to the Cheers with Gaurav. So guys, shout out to Cheers with Gaurav. People are inspiring at Red Hat. Yay. Okay. So just a fun part. So talking about your journey, man, it's really inspiring. Means at least to me, and I believe the viewers would be agree to the same, that 9 years of software developer life, and when you jumped into an open source organization, I
Right.
guess it's really feel blessed. And I believe we should all thanks to Richard Stallman that to bring us all together by starting that revolutionary moment of open source, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, without wasting a time, let's jump on to some of the questions because I can see the comments are quite huge. Let's try to take few of them and let's try
Okay.
to answer. So,
Yep.
first question for you coming from Mustafa. He said that how is Istio 1.9 gonna be different from Istio 1.8? Any clues on it?
So the problem with Istio 1.7 and 1.8 was they have been adding a lot of features and they were
Mm,
not stable. So after discussing with the TOC panel, which is a part of a Google and IBM team and other folks from different companies, what they decided is the focus for 1.9 is to 1.9 will be more stability instead of adding more and more features.
mhm.
So you will see a lot of fixes which was introduced in 1.8, which is multi-cluster, and you will see a lot of issue fixed in a multi-cluster. You will see a lot of issues and stable features in Istio CTL, which is basically similar to kubectl for interacting with the Kubernetes. Just how you use kubectl to interact with Kubernetes, you use Istio CTL to interact with the Istio cluster. So
Right.
the purpose of this 1.9 release is more stability and more focus on fixing the bugs. There won't be a lot of features that you will see, but yeah, the stability will always be there.
Awesome, awesome. And that
Yep.
what actually reminds. And I believe one of the key points that Mustafa again asked after this that have you been like using Istio in across Kubernetes or OCP clusters? Any use case that will be appreciated? Anything that you can think of?
So basically, I've used mostly on the Kubernetes, not on the OCP, because my role in Red Hat right now is completely focused on the open source side, not
Mhm.
on the productization side. So I've been focusing more on Kubernetes side, and I've been focusing more on the. Like I said, I am a part of user experience working group. The user experience working group is responsible for improving the experience of the user, how to use Istio in a Kubernetes cluster. So I have almost fixed more than 100 issues in Istio CTL. You can go and see on my GitHub profile. Uh, that is basically to improve the user experience of user to use Istio, because when I joined, there was a lot of issue with the Istio CTL. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So in the meeting with user experience maintainers from Google and IBM, they said that we'll have to fix a lot of issues in Istio CTL, because that's the only way you interact with Istio cluster. You can do it in the other way, like with the operators, but the Istio CTL is the entry point to interact with the Istio cluster. So yeah, I've been focusing mostly on Istio CTL to deploy applications on Kubernetes cluster, not on any other clusters.
Sounds great to me. I guess I hope Mustafa, you got the point correct. Next question is coming from Aman. I believe that is very well explained by Shamsher. So can you please brief about Istio? So Aman, I believe that is then already discussed in the session. One
Yeah, no
more,
problem.
like,
But
yeah, please,
I
if
can
you
I can
just want,
just I can just
yeah.
say in a one word. You can obviously go and see that slide again. But basically, Istio provides a way to communicate between different microservices. Okay, and it makes it easier by adding Istio proxy, or you can say Envoy proxy, into the
Mhm.
pod, so that you don't have to add a lot of microservices features into the actual container and into the actual application. So Istio wraps that, packs that into its proxy, and allows you to talk to your container and application easily. And you can also secure your application with the help of Istio. So yeah, it's basically just making your application easier to communicate with each other without making any changes to your actual application. That's what Istio do.
And I guess that is actually what Istio words drives also that how it is being working, talking about the service mesh, which is just in software. Later, then it runs alongside on your Kubernetes and the
Right.
OCP cluster for that matter. I believe that helps you, Aman. And the next question coming from the students front, Harsh wants to ask you that how we can use microservices architecture in student level projects. Any tips?
Don't use it, because microservices is not meant for the small applications. And if you try to learn microservices in the college level, honestly, you will leave your college. So basically, the microservices, there is a lot of discussion on Reddit where they have discussed, is microservices really suitable for small applications? So at the
Mhm.
college level, I will really recommend that don't go with the microservices. Just learn about it, the basics of it, so that you will know if somebody asks you in the interview. But microservices are not meant for a small applications because it comes with a lot of cost to the server, a lot of cost to the developers. So for college level project, for student level projects, always go with single application, monolith application, where you have everything in a single project, and don't go with microservices.
Absolutely. I guess very interesting view for you, Harsh, to work on, but never stops learning. So if you are good
Yeah,
in monolith, go ahead and get your hand dirty on microservices
right,
architecture and start
right,
implementing. And even if you are not happy, I believe Shamsher's coordinates are there in the description of this video. Please feel free to
yep,
go and connect him on the LinkedIn. Be patient, follow the open source etiquettes. Please be patient and getting his reward. He's quite occupied. Even it took me around like 4 or 5 months to convince him for doing this session. So please bear with us. Okay, and thank you so much, Shamsher, for giving this view for the student's life to work on, because
right,
that actually eventually a senior can explain. I believe
right.
Manish has a question. Sir, can you please explain a VNet?
I don't know.
I even don't know what that.
I've heard this for the first time, but
Mm,
not sure what it is. Maybe
question
a
that I
virtual
don't.
network or something.
But still,
But yeah,
Manish, if
I
you
can
can.
learn about it, and I can share that in the comment.
Sure, sure. So that's the one thing. Then again, a couple of questions are there. One coming from Nikhil. He says that, sir, what Istio can be provided by Kubernetes? Then why Istio? How it is different? What are the advantages?
So the Kubernetes allows you to run. So I can give an example. For example, if you're building an application, you have
Hmm.
to wrap that in a Docker container in order to deploy that to cluster in Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so Kubernetes is like a ship, and your application wrap inside the Docker container is a small container which can be fitted on top of the ship for different purposes. Okay,
Right.
but if you put a lot of containers on your Kubernetes cluster, like
Hmm.
say 100 or 1000 of thousands of containers, you might have seen the original ship which carries a lot of containers on top of it.
Yes.
You need something. So Kubernetes doesn't manage this the interaction between the containers on communication between the containers. Now you, if you are doing it, you have to do it manually. You should be able to know the IP address of that particular pod, and then you will be able to communicate with it. There are a lot of features that Kubernetes provides, but the problem with Kubernetes is that it doesn't handle the communication directly with the pods, different pods. So where that's where the Istio comes in. It makes the communication between the containers, it makes the communication between the pods easier, and it extracts all of your configuration from that particular container into Istio proxy, right? So even though if you have 10 or 50 containers, you can deploy that on Kubernetes cluster, and you can do a lot of communication between them. But if you are managing a larger application where there is 100 or 200 or 500 containers, and I'm sure if you're building a bigger application, you might have a lot of containers for your application. In that case, you don't want to replicate a lot of configuration and certificate management and security into different containers. What you want is these features should be extracted into something other part, so that they should be able to take care of the actual application. Like I said, if you are doing it in every container, every pod, then it will be a mess, or it will be a lot of overhead on you to manage all of these containers. So that's where Istio helps. It makes this configuration on loading of data and communication, how you are going to route your request from one container to other containers. This can be handled directly by Istio. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely correct. Means I hope, Nikhil, that gives you a right perspective. I guess Vishal has a very good question, which I want to. I'm curious to know that what is the major difference between compared to Istio and the other service mesh which are available.
So I know some other, like I mentioned in the
Yes.
slide itself, the actual difference between the Istio and with the other service meshes are, the Istio comes with a lot of features which is not available in other service meshes. So I must say that Linkerd is the other service mesh which is more easier than Istio, and there are a lot of customers who are moving to Linkerd because they don't want more overhead, they don't want more feature, they don't want less features because they don't have a bigger applications. That's why they are moving to Linkerd. But if you are working in a bigger organization, if you want more feature and flexibility in the configuration of your microservices, then Istio provides a lot of features. it
Okay.
it provides these kind of a features through Envoy proxy, like I said, which is also developed in C++, and it is a separate open source project that handles all these rate limiting and circuit breaking and other features, which has been added to Istio to make Istio more fast and flexible. So obviously there are other service meshes which are better than Istio, but Istio have more features. So if you're looking for more features, go back to Istio. If
And
not, you
also,
can
I
try.
guess I have pasted a link for Istio, so where you can go and explore that particular project. So you go there on the link in the description. Please go and search it up. Um, Shamsher, I don't know how much you agree or not. When it comes to like enterprise and talking
Mhm.
about the open source, these two are like, I believe we at Red Hat has always believed to satisfy our enterprise customer by taking the open source project and making them enterprise ready
Right.
always. So there is a question coming out, I believe, from Mustafa again, who says that is a blue-green deployment possible on Istio? I see an approach on canary deployment, unlike it's a vanilla Kubernetes. Any clues on that? Also, he has asked one question that how it is going to be different from the open source Istio and the enterprise Istio. So your take
Okay.
on that?
Okay. So first I'll answer this. That's how it is different from the open source Istio. So like any other open source project, Istio is completely open source and it is controlled and managed by Google. So
Okay.
Google and IBM are the first company who initiated this Istio open source contribution, and then other companies started contributing to Istio. Once it becomes stable, then other companies like Aspenmesh, Tetrate, Red Hat, IBM, they have been forking it and adding enterprise features to the particular open source service mesh. So the open source service mesh is called as Istio, and the Red Hat version is called as OpenShift Service Mesh.
Yes.
Okay, so open source and OpenShift, don't be confused about this. OpenShift Service Mesh is the productization version of the Istio. uh, it is more stable, and Red Hat provides customer support and the multi-tenancy feature, which is right now not available in vanilla Istio. That's how it becomes different from the OpenShift Service Mesh and Istio Service Mesh.
So
What
I
was the
guess
other question?
it continues the question that some share any clue on the enterprise Istio. I see Tetrate is building the same enterprise customer. I attended at
Hmm.
the NACubeCon 2020
Right,
event.
right,
And got to know about- Yeah. So I believe that's the same. So OpenShift Service Mesh, I believe, is one of the most stable enterprise product in terms of
right,
Istio, which you
right.
can go and explore for the same. Yeah.
There is other company called Aspen Mesh, which is
Okay.
also a good service mesh company. Obviously, Tetrate has been started by one of the core contributor of Istio, but yeah, he
Mhm.
left and joined Google, so I cannot say anything.
Awesome, awesome. This fight is always there in the industry, so no, we are nowhere there to comment. And again, as I always says, that this is our perspective. That whatever we have learned, whatever we have experienced, it's just an holistic view that we are presenting. It's nowhere Red Hat who is influencing us to say all these things and anything like that.
Right.
Talking about enterprise and open source, I believe people now have a fair understanding that what is open source and what is the closed source is all about. You already talked about in your introduction section.
Yep.
One question interestingly coming in every single session, and Harsh has again put it up, that how much certifications are important as a student to get hired in maybe Red Hat or in any other company?
So I don't think so. So it's my personal opinion, or it's my personal experience.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Any certification is needed to get hired in any company. You just need to be good in the basic coding skills. You need to know at least one programming language, and you should be able to be good in that. Just learn
Yes.
data structure and algorithm, because today's most of the companies hire based on your data structure and algorithm knowledge,
Mhm.
and you have to be good in aptitude. once you get hired, then you need to improve your skills, you need to improve your knowledge, and in that case you start doing certifications. Because even if you do certification in Python but you got job in Java, then what is the use of that certification? It might be useful at someday, like after 1 year or 2 year or 5 years, but yeah, it doesn't make sense to do certification in Python and then join a company where you work on Java. So I will recommend that basic coding knowledge is important to get hired by any company. Data structure algorithm is the basics. You have to be
Basics.
good in that, because if you're good in data structure and algorithm, then you can get hired in any big companies. And obviously, if you're curious to join open source companies, then start contributing to any open source project. If you don't want to contribute, just start your side project and put it on GitHub. It just needs to show how skilled you are, how much coding you know, and what you can do once you get hired in any of the companies.
And I've always believed means over the last 2 to 3 years, whenever I get an opportunity to get interact with any student, I always ask them that show me your GitHub profile, because
Yeah,
that will give me a holistic view that what you are doing, how much consistent you are. Because
right,
I personally see when you are sitting in an interview, definitely you always say that, yeah, I love open source. I am very aggressive in contributing to open source. But how you are going to showcase that world? And I
right,
believe Linus Torvalds has given us a fantastic platform talking about GitHub. You go there
right.
and just check it that, hey, look how much active I am, where all the contributions are getting up, and every single thing. So, yeah. And another, the certification side, I believe you have explained. So, Harsh, I hope that answers too. I believe we have some couple of more questions going on. The people are interacting,
Great.
so it's
I can
absolutely
answer
cool.
one or two questions more if you want.
Let me just check if there is something. I guess Aman has already asked questions. Aman is answering. Mustafa is answering a lot of questions.
Great.
Um I believe it's all people are rightly saying that all good vibes. They are able to just get the answer. Some of
Great.
our friends from the dad or from your families, they are also here. So I believe they are loving the session too. Okay, no problem. I guess I have a one question for you, Samshay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what was like you explained that when you did your first contribution, you did the first PR got merged. How
Right.
was you feeling? And means what was that feeling? Like you just merged one of your PRs. How much you excited you were when your first PR got merged?
Like I said, I was really excited at that time because contributing in open source gives you more confidence, and I
Mhm.
was confident enough that yeah, I did. Even though it was like I said, it was a documentation, but yeah, I tried to do more contribution in the documentation once I understood that yes, I can contribute or I can build my own open source small modules. I started learning how to write a readme file, because
Mhm.
that's the first thing which will land you on your open source project. And writing readme file is really tricky because you have to first explain what your project achieves, and then you have to also make sure that it should be able to run on any machine. Because if somebody wants to contribute to your open source project, it should be able to get set up on that particular machine. So then I started exploring how to do that, how to write a good readme file. And then I think in the year 2015 I contributed almost 15 open source projects. So that gave me more confidence. Yeah, I can be an open source developer. I don't want to be a part of some shitty company. I don't need to say that, but yeah, I don't want to be a part of the service based company. But yeah, it took me almost 3 years to struggle and create my profile in such a way that people started recognizing my GitHub profile, and they started messaging me on LinkedIn, on email, that your profile looks good and we want you to give us a chance to interview you. But I was really not confident at that time, so I said no to a lot of companies, not which was not in India at that time, that were from different countries. So I just wanted to make sure that at that time I need to be more confident. I started taking Golang session in my last organization. And then once you take a session, you have to be perfect in whatever you are saying. So
Yes.
that time it gives me more confidence that yeah, I think I can be a part of any open source organization now. I should be able to do it independently, because when you have 3, 5 or 6 years of experience, you are scared that you will not be able to work independently. You always need a help from other people. You always
Other-
need help from your manager if you get got stuck somewhere. But
Absolutely.
I think after doing all of these open source contributions, it gave me more confidence that yes, my excitement is real and I can jump into any open source company and at least start contributing.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's
I mean, for all the
excitement
viewers,
led me
what
to Red Hat.
no, what I can correlate with you, buddy, what you just rightly said, that it took you, according to yourself, 3 years of spend and contributing to different 15 plus projects, and that even you don't think that I'm not able to justify that what I have been learning, I need to learn more. And that is the beauty of open source, guys. So all the viewers who are thinking that yes, it's just a matter of 1 or 2 days, you just go and hit hard, you put down the comments and you get hired. I guess the people like Shamsher is the perfect reflection of hard work and patience, that it took him like around 8 plus years to get into the Red Hat, and which is like the open source leading company over there. Might be his dream, might not be, but we'll figure it out. But on the other side, like, he took his passion to such an extent that people start recognizing him from the GitHub. I believe that is the most beautiful takeaway for any individual, that even if your GitHub profile is done in such a way, people will start recognizing you, because the open source persons, the people who knows open source by heart, they will be seeking out your GitHub profiles too.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
true.
I guess one of our viewer is quite excited, who has just put it down, sir मेरा last question ले लो please. No problem भाई, तेरा हमने question discuss किया है निखिल का, but still we'll take it back again, that what
See
Istio
what
can provide that
the
Kubernetes
YouTube
cannot.
okay, then
So
Pakistan.
different and
I think
advantages.
I already
Yes.
answered this.
So I guess
Yeah.
Nikhil was working from home, so he was here and there.
Oh, it's better.
Nikhil, we just took your question about like 5 minutes back, so you can just scroll down the video back and you can hear it out. Or even if you want some more details, why don't you connect with me or with Shamsher over LinkedIn or Twitter or in Instagram? My links are right over there, and also uh, you can find connections over LinkedIn to Shamsher. More
Yeah.
importantly, what I want you all to do. अच्छा सर, ये नहीं लास्ट वाला. Which one भाई?
What if we can provide?
प्रोवाइड, हाँ, तो यही क्वेश्चन हमने अभी लिया है.
So what I will recommend is you go and visit the Istio website, and there is a book info application. You just go and download it, set up on your Kubernetes cluster, and then go through the configuration that it provides. You
Mhm.
will glance at the first that yes, this provides some more features on top of Kubernetes. That is
I
why
guess now
Istio has been built. Otherwise,
figure out
Kubernetes
his
is
question.
quite popular.
Sir, if we are
Networking
using Istio,
solutions.
then why do we use some other networking solution, Kubernetes, as Flannel does support network policies?
Honestly, I don't know. I can answer that later.
Okay,
So
no
yeah,
worries. You
if I
just
don't
will.
know, I will always say no.
No, no, that is absolutely correct, because
Yeah,
saying no is equally an important. And if you are a regular viewer of Cheers with Gaurav, you know that I already did a session, that art of saying no, because sometimes saying yes and putting a wrong advice ultimately leads you all in trouble, because powers of words means that is something that can transform anybody's life, can even
right.
spoil somebody's life. So I'll encourage you to please connect offline with Shamsher, or even to me. I will be more than happy to take this question, and why not, we can also
So
learn it out.
I know the half answer, but I'm not confident enough that that will
No
be the correct
worries.
answer for you. So yeah, I just
We'll
wanted to make
play it
sure that
up.
it's
No
right.
worries.
Yeah.
Okay. So towards the end, thank you so much, Shamsher, Mains, for your valuable time. It's almost 1 hour, and cheers to all the viewers who have been consistent throughout these sessions. So yes, Shamsher GitHub profile I'll paste down in the
Yeah.
description box after a few time, and even in his first slide, Vishal, you can find his GitHub profile, which I remember. But yes, after this session, in the description of this video, you can find his GitHub profile too. Go wish and connect with him. No worries. So, Samsher, last question coming from my side and for all the
Okay.
viewers. Any particular message that you want to give to me, to viewers, or to anyone who is going to watch this video later?
So it will not be a technical, but I can say that you should always believe in self-talk. Self-talk is something that you talk to yourself, not looking at the mirror, not looking at somebody, but you talk to yourself every day. Whenever you wake up in the morning, you talk to yourself whether I should turn this alarm off, or I should get up and do 30 minutes of exercise. Okay, so that self talk will help you achieve more in your life. How? For example, you, just like I said, you turn off your alarm, or you want to go and do the exercise. Okay, once you start your working, or once you start your college day, you should ask yourself a question, whether I want to learn something new today, or I just want to waste my time. Okay, and then you will get answer by yourself, whether I want to spend more time watching YouTube videos all day all night, or what I want to learn one video tutorial that will help me to get the job in any open source companies. Okay, so this self talk is really important, and I will suggest or recommend everybody to start doing self talk with yourself. You have been already doing it, but ask yourself a question: what is right and what is wrong? I think that will lead you to your goal, that will lead you to whatever you want in your life, and that I have been experimenting from a long time, and I think that led me to Red Hat. So yeah, I think that's it from my side today. Thank you guys for
Awesome.
watching.
You always said that you are the best judge of yourself, and why not? Mr. Shamsher has given us a new line: talk to yourself. That is the best part
Right,
that you can always do. Thank you so much, Shamsher. Do you have that lucky winner for us? If you
I think you
can,
can pick anyone you want, whoever asks most question, or I think there are most relevant question in this session as compared to others.
that's
So I would
definitely.
say you can choose any winner you
There
want.
were a lot of questions and answer. Let us scroll it back, and I can see a lot of name popping out again and again. But I guess there is one of our beautiful supporter out here who has
Mhm.
helped us in answering a lot of question, and he has also bring some open source enterprise and many other things. Is Mustafa. So if
Yeah.
you agree, let's give it to Mustafa today. So
Yes.
Mustafa,
Yes.
congratulations of like being one of the lucky winner to get the goodies pack. So I'll connect you offline, or you just connect me with over LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Instagram. Just text me that hey, I was the lucky winner for the day, and I'll be right there at your service. Okay, so that's the wonderful part. Thank you so much, Shamsher, for giving us an insight on Istio. I'll try to get you some other day back again, apart from a software engineer life, but
Yeah.
definitely want to
Sure.
explore more on Istio. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shamsher, for, for being
Thank
here
you.
with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
For all the viewers, right, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That definitely helps me to boost and bring you every single day a new session. Tomorrow session, same time, we are already lined up. It is already broadcasted. Go share it with your friends, families, and the person to whom you think that yes, he is the right one to get acquainted with the knowledge, what we do at Red Hat, what the software engineers do at the Red Hat. Tomorrow again, same time, 7:30 p.m. IST, we will be discussing with another associate about a new product with Red Hat. So I'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe, stay indoors. Cheers.